Okay, interesting little development here. So I was just, I'm getting back into my meditation routine. I did it for a while. I got back into it for I don't know how long actually. Maybe last week I stopped for whatever reason. And I think yesterday was probably the first day I did it again in a while, and literally just started. I'd literally just done my one today. Yesterday I did 30 minutes, pretty uneventful. Today I was planning to do 35 minutes. And then I thought I wasn't really feeling it that much before I started, so then I decided, well, maybe I'll give this Calm thing a try. So I opened up Calm, clicked. I wanted to do a focus one because that's like the one I'd be most interested in. Clicked on one of them, it was pretty boring. Tried another one. Actually, I think I started the first one and then followed it for a little bit, and they kind of got you to do deep breaths and sort of make sure you sitting up straight. And for once I decided to, so I'm just going to list the things that I think, basically I actually for the first time ever had a good little meditation experience for some amount of time. I had an experience that I'd quite like to seek again, and it wasn't actually, well, anyway, I'll just get through it. So the things the Calm thing got me doing was, it said to get my posture straight, and I never really bothered with that much, but I decided to adjust the setting on my chair, just at the back seat thing, and make it go right upright, so that I just sit upright. Anyway, did that. Ooh, she got me all tired now. Really relaxed me so much. And also had me do some really deep breaths. So I did some very deep breaths, but I was kind of focusing on just breathing. They said to breathe in, like to fill your body with air or something. I don't know how. Maybe do a really deep breath. Just try to do that. Anyway. And then breathing out slowly and all that. But then I decided I was bored of the Calm thing. I just didn't like the bird noises in the background and someone talking to me. So anyway, I put that away and then just started my timer for 35 minutes, which I didn't finish in the end of 35 minutes. I think I did like 32 minutes, and only the first 10 minutes was actually worth anything. But then I started doing it. So I did the deep breaths again without the Calm thing, because I thought I'd try that. And then I just let my breath kind of sink to what felt natural, and that was kind of basically non-existent breaths. It was like, so it would have been almost impossible for me to concentrate on my breath, and I was still thinking at this moment, kind of involuntarily, and then I just decided to, the reason I was thinking about the Calm thing and why I didn't want to do it, why I didn't want to use Calm, I wanted to just do it myself, and the thought that came to my head was, I just want just sit in silence. I think it was something like that. There was this one thing, because I was skipping through some of on the second Calm thing I went, guided meditation thing I went on, I skipped to different minutes to see what the words, because obviously they have moments of silence. I wanted to see what the words were, and one of them was some kind of short phrase that they said in a weird way. Maybe I could try and find it again, but that repeated in my head a few times anyway, just because it was a strange thing, a strange enunciation. Anyway, but this just sitting inside, just sit in silence, was this thought that went through my head, and then I made some notes halfway through the meditation thing of what it felt like, because basically I had for the first time I actually was able to notice the kind of break in stream of consciousness thinking, right? For any period of time longer than a millisecond or whatever. And it felt good, and I was trying to work out what felt good about it, and this is what I spent the rest of the other 25 minutes on the entire thing thinking about, was just trying to get back there. So I felt it once, and then because it was still fresh in my mind, I was able to kind of find it again, and it was something to do with, I don't really know how I found it. It kind of felt, finding it was like kind of using my eyes, looking around a bit, but not really. I don't know, I just kind of knew where to look. It was what it felt like that second time, and I found it again, that same feeling. And the feeling felt nice, and the best reason I can think of describing it that makes it sound, to advertise it as a feeling, was it kind of felt irritationless. I think that was a good description. It was irritationless. It also felt kind of detached, It's hard to put this across without people thinking that you're talking about, believing that your consciousness is separate from the body. But it wasn't that. I think it's more likely. So we know our perception of everything is just, made in the brain, sort of. You get sound, will vibrates your eardrum, which then sends an electrical signal to your brain and all that. And your brain is always connected to the rest of your body through central nervous system. What it kind of felt like was, another word I got here is subreal. It kind of felt subreal, so it did feel like I was above myself a little bit. So sort of like I wasn't in my head, or more like, because I'm so used to being in my head or whatever, that my head was higher up than my body, looking down a bit. It was kind of like See, another thought that came into my head in the 25 minutes of thinking I had afterwards was that the only thing I can liken it to is when I've been ill a few times before and had this weird sensation of things not feeling like the right size, volume and density and stuff like that. Like when I'm sleeping and when I'm trying to go to sleep, my hands feel the wrong size, and then the duvet feels the wrong size. The duvet feels huge and my hand feels tiny, and I feel like a cut, like everything, all my thoughts, everyone in my, all the people and characters in my head end up being bloated, but simultaneously really skinny, cartoonishly skinny, like stick men, but like caricature people. Anyway, and it's impossible for me to describe that. That's what I think makes me liken it to this, is that it's almost impossible to describe accurately. Anyway, felt kind of above my body, but it was more like subreal, as I say. Right now, I kind of feel like it's impossible for me to feel like my legs and everything are in the same. They're just where I know them to be. And maybe I was getting closer to the truth because, well, not really. But we know, as I said, that when I touch my legs, I'm not actually, well, I guess I am feeling, yes, my legs and my hands are touching, but the sensations that are being sent to my brain, it would be impossible for me to actually feel what I'm seeing, in the sense that, anyway, I'm just feeling the sensory input of all those things combined, and they're combining in my mind to make a visual and spatial representation of what's actually out there in the world, and it can be distorted, obviously, which is, but it's not. Anyway, I think I felt like I felt separate from that, whereas now I feel like it fully embodies everything, my experience. I kind of felt a bit above it. Anyway, I don't know, never mind. And another feeling that made it feel nice was that it kind of felt light blue is the thing that's coming to mind right now, but kind of nice cold is what it felt like. Irritationless and kind of a nice cold feeling almost. I can't really, it's hard to remember it as well. Anyway, but yeah, just sit in silence rather than meditate, because before, whenever I meditate, I always think I've got to meditate now or whatever. But this time it was more of a kind of feeling of just want to sit in silence, not actually meditate, not do anything, just sit in silence. So maybe I'll try that again with the breathing and the sitting in silence and the sitting up straight. See if I can get back there again for longer. I don't know. Done. I'm just listening to the latest Sam Harris podcast with Max Datemark and Rebecca Goldstein. I quite like Rebecca Goldstein. She seems quite clever and nice. Anyway, I just want to get this out while it's fresh in my mind. So they're talking about what matters and all that stuff. Obviously stuff I've covered and, solved. Obviously got to the in my wake. But, good for that. They're talking about how things like art and books and stuff matter and all those things. And I was just thinking how really I've talked about the net. I tried to straighten out any possible kinks with the whole quote, air quotes, God, and how, well, basically what I'm getting at here is that I don't know what I'm talking about, but really what I'm getting at is that I don't actually understand what the hell I'm going to say. So, how do I put it? I think one of the ways in which things like that would... So I think we've evolved to feel like these things matter to us. And so it makes sense to me for someone to be suicidal if they're not. So I'm trying to tie all these things in. It's hard to put them all, Anyway. It would make sense evolutionarily for qualities to evolve in us which benefit humanity as a whole, right? So because the genes that do that will then further their own existence, but also the existence of the things that they require to further their own existence. So other humans, obviously you need other humans to have the same genes. So and then that will be recognised and then genes for that code for recognising the genes, which then are not actually recognising, but recognising the qualities that these genes then code for. So let's say you have a gene that makes you a good writer, obviously a very simplistic extrapolation, metaphor, or whatever, then it could be helpful if you won't be suicidal. You won't be made to feel suicidal if you're doing something that's good for society. Oh God, I've really not got this. I'm trying to make myself some hot milk here. Jeez. God, I bet these sounds sound really authentic and make me feel warm. So someone might become suicidal because they're not providing anything to the group, right, to the population, and so you can be made to feel like you don't matter. But obviously, it's that wasn't really the case that wasn't what I felt like in my case. But it might be the cause of what I felt like. But what I actually felt like was just not enjoying. If your subjective experience becomes so devoid of anything devoid of anything worth having, then it would make sense for you to commit suicide, right? It becomes a logical little step. But if you're providing things to the society, then evolutionarily it would be... If you're providing things which then will help proliferate the rest of the... what am I getting at here? I guess group... Is it group selection? Is that what they mean? I've never actually known what group selection is. But maybe this is what I'm getting at now. Don't know. So maybe... it's like selection at the group level. Is that... Oh, that makes sense, only. I thought it was more kind of, I don't know, the group doing the selecting. But I guess it would, if it's saying that evolution selects for groups as well. So selects for a society. So in a society where some of the individuals have genes which do things which mean that the individual then does things for other individuals, so that so that the whole group prospers. Anyway, Jesus Christ. And then if you have individuals who have genes which mean that don't do anything for the group, then they will be made to feel, their subjective experience will be made to feel that might make them take themselves out from the equation, and therefore those genes will be eradicated. Anyway, what was I getting at? Fuck, I've completely lost it, man. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Matters, authors, writing things. So yeah, maybe that's a way of So I've talked about how, having a family and meaningful relationships. That would obviously tie into what I'm talking about. If you had meaningful relationships with people, then you could be proliferating their existence, and then it's in the evolutionary cycle. God, Jesus Christ. It's in the interest of the society, Jesus Christ, or the group or whatever, for those qualities to continue existing. So but something like writing a book might be one of those things which does that, and doing those things will make you feel a way that makes you not want to kill yourself. God, gee, what a fucking man. If I could just see this, I think I'm much better when I write things down. At least they're kind of, I'm able to keep track of, well, just not get pulled away by each thought every second. I'll try and do that. But man, I just want to be able to tie all the things that I connect it to. So my brain makes the connections, and my mouth then tries to keep up. And then obviously I sound like I'm bragging about fucking how great my brain is, but it's obviously terrible. The brain also controls the speaking, and it can't fucking do the speaking bit. But yeah, it's all connected, is what I'm saying. All the things I've talked about and this, they're all connected. It's good. Okay, I think I might be getting fragments of what I meant to think back. So the inclination for finding things matterful could be influenced by either internal or external forces, or both, obviously. So when you write a book and you're given this sense of meaning and that it matters, obviously, you might be writing a book, or it would be possible to write a book which you knew wouldn't necessarily matter to your contemporaries, or even during your life, to anyone that will be alive during your lifetime. It might matter to people far, far in the future, and you could be wrong about that. You could be right about that. But the sense of mattering it's just as real as any other, obviously, because it's consciousness and whatever. And you could delude yourself, I suppose, somehow into thinking that's the case, right? I get a little bit about like what I'm doing right now. So I'm doing this. I don't think anyone's going to hear it, but maybe there's probably quite a big part of me that thinks at some point someone might hear it and appreciate it or something. And then this ties into the group selection thing maybe it's group selection, I don't know. I probably shouldn't call it that in case it's not. But the idea that it will matter to someone could be the thing that allows you to feel this way, because then the group would benefit if it did matter to someone, right? So you could be getting this intrinsic force, or if you're writing a book and people are reading it or not and are giving you social signals and subliminal messages about what they think of it and whether it does matter, then that could give you your sense of meaning. Because if you're writing something or you're saying something and people are responding in a way that triggers, they're responding subliminally, and you're acknowledging these responses subliminally to yourself, but they're causing certain neurotransmitters to be released in certain doses in your brain that allow you to feel a certain way. Then that, and this is all tied into Sam's being a rider on the wave of consciousness, or whatever. So you're just allowed to feel whether it's good or not. So really, it's a bit of a shame, because if you're stupid, then you're just destined to not feel as good unless you start doing it. Maybe that's where religion is good. Maybe even stupid people can be nice, but I don't think you really need religion. Maybe it has been good for that, but now we can realise, now that we know that that's what it was good for, we can make it better. Maybe it allowed stupid people to know what they could do, how being nice could allow them to feel good. But obviously you can just say that now, rather than... And maybe obviously they didn't realise it when they were writing the religion stuff in the work, but they knew it worked. Better like many of the drugs we have. Anyway, like lithium or whatever, for example. So maybe just being nice, if you're stupid, will make you feel good, because it would benefit, because evolution has catered us that way. It's not conscious. I don't see any reason to believe that it's conscious. But anyway, it just happens. It would obviously work out. It would be better. It would more likely. God, it's in its own self-interest for it to work that way. If it didn't work that way, it would work less well than it does. Okay, not the self-interest thing, but the second thing I just said. Fucking hell. Right. Fuck, I even lost it again from the start, man. Okay, let me just try one more time to get the thing I was getting at. So I'd say we've evolved to have these reward systems, right? Okay, this is what it gets at. So the reward systems, we'll have certain reward systems which then have evolved because this would be the way that would allow for the best or the most optimal continuation of the evolution of the specific evolutionary cycle that we're in to continue, so that doing certain things and behaving in certain ways are best for society and best for the individual, and having these behaviours rewarded with a conscious existence that we would value as, because it's the reward, so we value it the same way as the evolutionists told us has evolved us to value it. We get rewarded for doing these things that reward us, right? The reward is the reward. Oh my god, so stupid. So if you don't want to be suicidal, then find something that activates your reward system, which is likely to be something which will benefit humanity or society or something like that. Write a book, that seems to be one. Do smart. I know some people may say, it's not immediately obvious why art benefits society, but I did have an answer and I've forgotten it, but I've talked about what art is meant for before, obviously. Can't remember right now. Just fucking deal with it, man. Look, work out what the things are that make most people feel good. Try them. They'll probably work because we've evolved for them to work that way. So really, it's all just a bit of a trick to make humanity last longer. But we know that it feels with people feeling it. So it's in our best interest as well as thingy to carry it on. Or maybe it's in our best interest to try and get out of it and find a way of hacking the system. I'd say probably so, but I don't really know how to do that just yet. And I'd rather we knew more about it before I tried it, so there we go. I'm just going to leave it there. God. I don't know if any of it made any sense in the end. I know what I was thinking about. I know that it's genius, I do. So there we go. That matters to me. But obviously I've just proven that it would only matter if I believe that it mattered to someone else. Well, I haven't proven that, but suggested that it might only matter if I thought that it mattered to someone else. So for me to get the feeling. So right, good.